Hi guys, welcome back to the channel, Built Prado. Today is CVs, so cars are jacked up. We're going to run you through how to do them. It's pretty straightforward, and with a bit of helping hand you can get it done, I'm going to say within an hour. They're pretty easy, so let's show you what we've done. And these CVs, I just bought them off eBay. They're like $244 for two, which is a pretty good deal if you want anything else. And they just come in this white box. And they're quite heavy, so make sure you need someone to lift them with you, I don't know. But you can see they're in there, and they're packaged pretty well. And they also come with a new split pin, which is good, and a little cap there. Okay guys, so how to change your CVs. So essentially you're going to take off this cap here, which is what I'm doing now. We just get like a tiny little screwdriver, and you just sort of start hammering it around like this, and you just sort of work your way around. This one's very close to coming off, and you might potentially mangle the end as well, which is what the previous mechanic's done on this one, but that's alright because you'll just have to straighten it out and get it to work again. Okay, also what you want to pull off is the bottom of this shocky. You want to take that bolt out, and you also want to 50-50, but you might want to undo the bolt in this sway bar here just to loosen it off a little bit more. And then you also want to undo this bolt down here to your lower ball joint. Now just this big one at the bottom here, and that will allow this to all drop essentially. And then one more thing is the brake line up here, you want to undo that and take that off as well, because then this can sway out the way and you can pull the CV out. Okay guys, so we just took that off. As you can see, this one's really rusty, but essentially this locking pin is what helps this big nut not come off, and this is just a little safety thing that sort of stops it from rubbing off. So essentially we're going to unbend these pins here like this, and then we're just going to slide. That pin should have really been bent both ways, but it wasn't, so that all comes off like that. And then essentially we're going to get the big impact, and we're going to undo this nut, and this will just come off. And the size of this nut as well is 34. Now on some things online say it's 35, but this 34 seems to fit in there just snug. So we're going to take that off now and show you what's in there. Okay guys, so Ben and I have just taken out all those bolts. So now, as you can see, we've just pulled this back like so. Brake line's still on, which is a win, and so is the sway bar, which is really cool, and the steering. So we've only taken off a few bolts. Now that's hammered out simply, and now inside the CV here there is a friction ring, so you just have to get a pry bar and pry that out as best you can, and besides that you end up pulling it like this, and this will just slide out. Okay guys, so Ben just pulled the first CV out. We're going side by side. How wicked is this? So as you can see, some differences. There's a weird concave bit in here. Ben can correct me if I'm wrong. Thing I noticed straight away is this looks a bit wider than this, which is interesting because this one's actually a cheap one from eBay, and it's already got it's got an extra sill here. This one doesn't have that, so there's definitely some differences, but this all looks pretty similar. But what we are going to do is rip these boots and actually look inside and see what the problem is, because it'll be interesting to see where the noise is coming from, because it's pretty bad to be honest. So yeah, we're gonna do that right now.
So we just pulled that CV shaft out. It's got that friction ring, which is that one there that locks it into the diff. That one was a bit of a pain in the ass. We tried to pry it off that, but it wasn't quite working, so then we ended up just getting a punch and punching that lip, and it punched out not too bad. So ours was a bit tight. This side was harder than that side, but if you get stuck, just punch it out, it's a bit easier.
Now he's just installing the new CV.
Make sure that the spline is in on the diff end, and then just get that nut and sit it flush with the end of that thread, and then just give it a whack so that friction ring sits in. That's it, locked in.
So those splines have interlocked, and now,
and then when you install this into the hub, just get some grease, put some grease over that, and Bob's your uncle. That there ripped off this when we took it off, as you can see, because we were trying to pull it so hard with two of us, and it just couldn't come off. Right, as you can see guys, this part comes around it like this. Useless with one hand. Alright, so that went over pretty easy. Ben's just screwing that bolt on there, and he's just going to move it and make sure it all sort of lines up really well. And some videos on YouTube were also saying you can cable tie this all up and cable tie this out of the way, which is a good idea, but at the end of the day, if you've got a second guy, you definitely don't need to do that. You could just hold it out the way and slide it out, slide it in. So Ben's going to screw this up now. So guys, remember this set was only 240 bucks for two, and it was actually on sale.
So it's a pretty good price. All the other prices and stuff are a lot more expensive. And as you can see, that goes on like that, and then the little pin can go through, like just like the old one, and then that will never come out now. That will still be loose. Well, it's actually not this time, but it will actually be nice and strong. That won't come off. So once that nut and bolt's on, you put the cab back on and just tap it on evenly around the sides. And so now we're just gonna put the bolt on the shock. That's already on, so it's literally just lower ball joint and the shock, and we should be almost good to go. And then we'll trap the wheels on, and yeah, should be good to drive. Okay guys, it's now all bolted back on. The car is looking good as always. I'll show you it. So essentially, all the wheels are back on. We actually rotated the 4 tires, so these have really good tread and the back ones are shocking. Those ones almost look like they're actually balding. It's actually quite alarming, but these have like 80% tread easily. So the tires are all been swapped, and then both CVs are on. You can see them there. They're actually quite, I really like the look of them. They're a bit thicker, like I said before, and they're actually black, whereas the old ones were silver. So hopefully they're wearing really good. Took it for a little drive around the block here and it went really well, and the clicking experience stopped. So now that that's all fixed, all I have to do now is hope that for Jacob Farm tomorrow it will hold together and prove that off-road it is good as well. Okay guys, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully that was helpful. Any questions, message me in the YouTube comment or on Instagram and I'll try and help you out. But besides that, hopefully that was helpful if you want to change and make yourself, and we'll catch you guys next time on Built Prado.